Buenas tardes, ¿cómo están todos? La verdad que es muy grato darles la bienvenida en este Salón Azul. Es realmente un privilegio poder estar sentada en esta mesa al lado de dos personalidades como son Lord Robert Carnwath y el doctor Lorenzetti. Es un privilegio que hayan elegido nuestra facultad para esta charla que con gran satisfacción, además por mi formación, va a ser sobre la regla del derecho en materia ambiental. La verdad que en estas ocasiones y con personalidades como tenemos el placer de recibir hoy, no tiene sentido que yo intente hacer una presentación que obviamente va a ser escasa ante todo lo que ambos merecerían que yo dijera de ellos. Un agradecimiento a todos ustedes por su participación, por la asistencia. Les auguro una charla muy provechosa. I believe that education and information are key pieces to protecting the environment. Thank you for being here and thank you for sharing your knowledge. Gracias a todos ustedes y a disfrutar la charla.
Muchas gracias, buenas tardes a todos. Mi función aquí es presentar a quien va a ser el expositor, Robert Carnwath. Él es juez de la Corte Suprema de Inglaterra. Hace ya muchos años, es un hombre que ha tenido una carrera brillante en su país. Ha estudiado en el King College, después en Cambridge, y luego accedió, después de una carrera judicial, a la máxima autoridad judicial de su país. Y a partir de ahí se ha destacado como jurista a través de numerosas decisiones judiciales. Luego de eso, de esa carrera judicial que continúa y sigue siendo actualmente juez de la Corte Suprema, que como ustedes saben es una institución que no tiene muchos años en Inglaterra porque antes funcionaba dentro del Parlamento y por eso él es Lord, porque los Lords eran originariamente los encargados de dictar este tipo de sentencias. Luego una reforma constitucional, se creó la Corte Suprema, que está actualmente en funciones como un organismo judicial autónomo, con jurisdicción en todas las Islas Británicas y algunos dominios que todavía tiene, básicamente en las islas del Caribe. Nuestra relación con Robert es de muchos años, porque él además se ha destacado en el derecho ambiental. Ambos integramos el Comité de Expertos de Naciones Unidas para el Medio Ambiente, que se creó en la reunión de Río +20, donde los poderes judiciales crearon una institución dentro del Programa de Naciones Unidas para el Medio Ambiente. En ese programa se creó un comité de expertos donde estamos miembros de algunas cortes de Malasia, de Inglaterra, Brasil, Argentina, que nos reunimos periódicamente para evaluar la jurisprudencia, la evolución del derecho ambiental a nivel mundial, y eso hace que hayamos tenido numerosos encuentros con Robert en distintos lugares del planeta referidos a la temática ambiental, de modo que él es uno de los expertos mundiales del tema, es uno de los hombres que más conoce la jurisprudencia ambiental en todo el planeta, porque además de su función en la Corte ha dado conferencias en distintos lugares del mundo. Y un tercer aspecto que me parece muy relevante es que en sus conferencias él ha citado con mucha frecuencia la sentencia de la Corte Suprema de Argentina del Riachuelo, la causa Mendoza, y la ha estudiado y permanentemente sigue la evolución de esa sentencia, lo cual para nosotros es un orgullo y nos llena de satisfacción. De hecho, él ha estado en el día de ayer y lo primero que hizo fue tratar de ir a ver el Riachuelo para ver cómo estaba en el cumplimiento de la sentencia. Pero el tema ambiental es muy importante dentro de la agenda del juez Carnwath. Nosotros tenemos a partir de mañana un encuentro mundial de jueces que se hace en Río de Janeiro, y ahí vamos a estar juntos, y ahí se va a crear un instituto judicial ambiental mundial, pero la idea es que ahí van a estar jueces de todo el mundo, desde China, África, Europa, América Latina, discutiendo un tema que es muy importante, y esto se relaciona con lo que él va a desarrollar hoy, porque estamos trabajando todos en este Advisory Committee en la idea de Estado de Derecho Ambiental, es decir, que las reglas del Estado de Derecho se apliquen también en el campo ambiental. De manera que es un gran orgullo para nosotros poder traerlo a Robert Carnwath aquí, que lo conozcan, que establezcamos lazos muy intensos para conocer las decisiones de la Corte de Inglaterra, que son muy importantes. Además, es bueno decir que tienen decisiones en materia de cambio climático que son muy relevantes y muy actuales. De manera que creo que es un expositor del mayor interés para el mundo académico de esta facultad. Solamente quiero decirle a Robert que estamos muy contentos que nos visite, y estoy seguro que todos disfrutarán de su exposición. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias.
Hay traducción simultánea, y después de la exposición, si quieren, pueden hacer algunas preguntas.
Good evening. At this point, I watched to see how many of you put on your speakers. I have the impression that many of you understand English without difficulty. I apologize that I can't speak to you in Spanish. I love the language, I can understand it quite well, but I can't speak it. It's a great thank you to the university and to Chief Justice Lorenzetti for enabling me to come here. It's a great pleasure to come back to Buenos Aires. I visited it as a tourist in the past. I visited a number of parts of your wonderful country. Last time I was here, I drove with my wife over the Paso de Hama in the north of the country to Chile. And so I saw some real environment there, and what a wonderful country it is. Before that, we were down in Patagonia, visiting the opposite end. So I've seen quite a lot of it. But you may wonder, well, what am I doing here talking to you about environmental law? As I look around the room, I suspect that many of you are very expert. I think I have two qualifications. One is that I think I'm older than almost anyone in the room. When I started in the law when I was studying law in the 1960s, environmental law hadn't really been invented. There was no subject at University of Cambridge where I studied, which was environmental law. We didn't actually start using the word environmental in English law until much, much later. And so I think one of the things I want to talk about tonight is the way environmental law has developed as a global phenomenon in a relatively short time. My other qualification, as Ricardo mentioned, is that I have been involved for some years now with the United Nations Environment Programme in advancing the training of judges in environmental matters. This really goes back to 2002, when there was in South Africa, in the summit there was what they called a global judges symposium. And that was the first time really that judges from countries all around the world had come together to recognize the importance of not just having environmental law, but having judges who could apply it and enforce it. And so after that, the UNEP set up a program of task force of judges to try and carry forward that program. And I was represented the United Kingdom in that task force. And one of our first endeavours was to produce a manual on environmental law for judges. And that's developed, as the Chief Justice has said, into the Advisory Council, and we'll be meeting in Rio on tomorrow. But I think the thing that sort of struck me during that period, as I say, is how new the subject is, and on the other hand, how urgent is the need for it to be given effect. One looks back to the 1960s, and as I say, the concept of environmental law really hadn't begun. The United Nations, when it was set up after the war, didn't have an agenda for the environment. That came much later. Some of us sort of look back to the awareness of our planet as needing real protection, to the first flights to the moon. It's quite interesting, the Brundtland Commission in 1987, in their very influential report, Our Common Future, said this: in the middle of the 20th century, we saw our planet from space for the first time. Historians may eventually find that this vision had a greater impact on thought than did the Copernican revolution in the 16th century, which upset the human self-image by revealing that the Earth is not the centre of the universe. From space we see a small and fragile ball dominated not by human activity and edifice, but by a pattern of clouds, oceans, greenery and soils. Humanity's inability to fit its activities into that pattern is changing planetary systems fundamentally. Many such changes are accompanied by life-threatening hazards. This new reality from which there is no escape must be recognized and managed. Now that I can vividly remember those first images of the Earth viewed from space, and one became conscious of how vulnerable the world is. Now today, developments in astronomy have made us even more acutely aware of the extraordinary combination of chance events which made possible the conditions for life on the planet. Now, it may be that somewhere in the billions of planetary systems which are found in the universe, these conditions are replicated. But even now, this is pure speculation. And so one becomes even more conscious of our responsibility to guard and preserve this jewel which is entrusted to our care. And the instrument by which we have to do that is environmental law. And that is why over the last 50 years we've seen the rapid development of new and complex systems of law which give effect to principles shared now across the world. As I say, this is really what has the involvement of the United Nations is relatively new. It was only in 1972 that the United Nations Environment Programme was established. And that same year we had the Stockholm Conference on the Human Environment. That for the first time, provided a set of general principles which, though not legally binding, have provided a framework for the development of environmental law nationally and internationally ever since. It was based on the idea of the shared responsibility of all to protect and improve the environment for present and future generations. And since then we've had a proliferation of laws giving effect to that. But we had to wait really for the Rio Declaration in 1992 for more flesh to be put on the bones of the Stockholm Declaration. Many of the principles there set out are now widely established in court practice. Concepts such as sustainable development, intergenerational equity, precautionary principle, polluter pays, and so on. Of central importance was Principle 7. That required all states to cooperate in a spirit of global partnership to conserve and restore the Earth's ecosystem. Their responsibilities were to be common but differentiated in recognition of their different contributions to global environmental degradation and the different technologies and resources available to them. And that has been the heart of global environmental law ever since. It was put to the test quite early on in relation to the protection of the ozone layer. Again, it's quite easy now to forget what a threat that was in the early 1970s, when scientists warned for the first time that chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, then used in a wide variety of refrigerants and other industrial processes, had the potential to destroy the stratospheric ozone layer that protects the Earth from harmful ultraviolet radiation. The public and policy makers were motivated to take action, and that was followed by the 1985 Vienna Convention on the protection of the ozone layer, followed by the 1987 Montreal Protocol on ozone-depleting substances. In the 30 years or so since then, the vast majority of ozone-depleting chemicals have been phased out worldwide, and the stratospheric ozone layer appears to be on its way to recovery. And critical to the success of that venture was the respect paid to the differentiated needs and interests of developing countries and the need to ensure access to resources and alternative technologies. And so there one saw a successful model early on of real cooperation in the spirit of the Rio Declaration. And as we'll see, that's provided the inspiration for the recent Paris Agreement on climate change, which I'll come in a moment. Now, in the Rio Declaration itself, one had other very important instruments of environmental law, which again have become very familiar. The concept of environmental impact assessment, which requires expert assessment of projects which may affect the environment, available to the public, and ensuring that proper consideration is given to public interest in major projects. That has been an instrument which is now applied worldwide and with real effect. Allied to that was Principle 10, the right to public participation. This is again is fundamental importance, the right of the public to relevant information on the environment, the right to participate in decision making, and the right to effective access to judicial and administrative proceedings to enforce those rights. And this simple formula has proved pervasive and highly effective. Now, obviously, an important part of that is the widening of access to the courts to enforce environmental protection. When I started in law, the traditional view was that judicial review of public action was confined to those with a special legal interest in the subject matter of the case, which was distinct from that of the public at large, a very narrow view of who was entitled to go to court. But in most jurisdictions, that's now given way to a much wider approach. As one of my colleagues said in a recent case in our Supreme Court, environmental law proceeds on the basis that the quality of the natural environment is of legitimate concern to everyone. We had an example of that last year in our court in a case brought by a campaigning organisation called Carnwath that related to limits under European law of nitrogen dioxide emissions. They were meant to come into effect in 2015, but in many areas, particularly central London, the levels were much higher, and the government's plans would have delayed compliance until after 2025. Carnwath, representing, as they saw it, the public interest, brought a case against the government. The government argued that this was really a matter for the European Commission and was a political matter, not a legal matter. But we said no, we ordered the government to produce new revised plans within 6 months, and we put that under the supervision of the administrative court. Some courts have gone even further in widening access, thus the Philippines Supreme Court, in the famous Formosa case, memorably upheld a challenge to the state's policies for granting consent to fell in the country's virgin forest. That was brought by some 43 children from all over the Philippines on behalf of themselves and generations yet unborn. So one recognises the right of all children and those yet unborn to the protection of the environment. In human rights law, we've seen the same sort of developments in the European Convention on Human Rights, which came in the post-war, immediate post-war period. It said nothing in terms about the environment, but in a series of cases from the mid-1990s, the European Court of Human Rights held that Article 8, which requires respect for private life in the home, extended protection of the home environment. Similarly, your American Convention on Human Rights in 1969 said nothing about the environment, but it was not until 1988 that a protocol that included specific mention of the environment. By contrast, the later African Charter on Human and People's Rights, 1981, provided expressly that all people have the right to a general satisfactory environment. And that's being held to impose obligations on governments to tackle environmental degradation and promote secure, ecologically sustainable development. At national level, in the same way, the environment has found its way into the new or amended constitutions. The older constitutions made no explicit reference to the environment. For example, in India and Pakistan, the constitutions have general guarantees of the right to life. But from the 1990s, the courts began to interpret that as including not just the right to mere existence, but the right to a healthy environment in which to live. And relying on those rights, the Indian Supreme Court has made orders to oversee the cleaning up of industrial pollution, threatening the Taj Mahal, and, for example, to reduce air pollution in Delhi by conversion of all buses from diesel fuel to compressed natural gas. That's simply using the instrument of the constitutional right to life as a legal weapon. In the more recent constitutions, since the early 1990s, one has explicit recognition of the right to a clean and healthy environment. Thus, in your own Argentinian constitution, as amended in 1994, you have a specific right in Article 41, which is not just about rights, but about duties. All inhabitants enjoy the right to a healthful, balanced environment fit for human development, so that productive activities satisfy current needs without compromising those of future generations, and have the duty to preserve the environment. Now, as the Chief Justice has said, in the 2008, your Supreme Court gave strong judicial backing to the much-needed and long-delayed plans to clean up the Riachuelo River, relying on that Article 21 provision in the Constitution and giving it real teeth, something which actually can be used to enforce environmental rights. And what I found fascinating when I read about that case was the way the court used this apparently simple constitutional provision to bring together all the various government agencies, federal and local, to develop a coordinated plan under court supervision to clean up the river and its surroundings. And in practical terms, that's led to the approval of an integrated plan, a 15-year program for improving the river. I was quite pleased actually yesterday. I was taken to see the Riachuelo River, and there's obviously a long way to go in terms of the program, but it is something which has been, a great deal of work has been done, and the fact that it's under court supervision seems to be something which is enormously important in giving real effect. So I see the development of these various legal instruments as being something which has given the judges a real opportunity in different ways, in different legal systems around the world, to give real effect to the protection of the environment. Now, at this point, I think I have to say something about what is probably the biggest challenge of all, that is of climate change. Now, the Paris Agreement, reached in December last year, was, to my mind, an astonishing achievement. I happened to go to Paris during the period of the conference to take part in a seminar where we were talking about the potential role of the court. But what really impressed me, and maybe others who were in Paris at the time, was the monumental nature of the exercise. There were 196 countries represented with all their negotiating teams. But there was an enormous bevy of others who were interested in the subject, people who were lobbying, journalists, people attending side events. And it created a real sense of expectation. And of course all that happened only 2 weeks after we had some terrible atrocities, terrorist atrocities in Paris, which might well have derailed the whole exercise. But somehow it seemed that the memory of those recent events concentrated the minds of the people there and made failure unthinkable. So it was an extraordinary achievement, and particularly an extraordinary achievement for the French, who came out of that awful period and scored what was a major diplomatic triumph. Now, and last week we had in New York the first signatures being put to the agreement, and it was a notable fact that 175 countries were represented and signed the agreement. There's a long way to go, they've got to ratify it, and many uncertainties. But as a sort of global coming together, I don't think anything has ever been seen like it in history. And so it does give, I think, real hope that something may be achieved. Now, I haven't got time to say much about the detail, but I think it is worth just pausing a moment on what the sort of the elements of it which make one hopeful that it will achieve its objective. The background, of course, was the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change from 1992, and then that was followed by the Kyoto Protocol. But the relative failure of those earlier steps seems to have been partly from the attempt to impose predetermined limits on the developing countries while leaving a much sort of looser basis for the developing countries. And that led in turn to the United States under President Bush really walking away from the agreement altogether. And it threw a real doubt about what it was actually going to achieve. The big decision as far as the run-up to Paris is concerned was made in the Warsaw Conference in 2013, when it was established that the parties would start from the other end. There it was decided that the parties would, in a way, work bottom up. They would submit their own intended nationally determined contributions, and even more importantly, and this would apply to everyone. So there was no differentiation in terms of the basic obligation between developed and developing countries. And that, I think, approach did lead to the real possibility of success in Paris. Now, perhaps the most important thing that came out of Paris was the global consensus on the reality of climate change and the urgent need to address it. There had been plenty of sceptical voices in the run-up to the conference, and many people were saying then, and indeed still saying, that climate change isn't really a problem at all. But the coming together of 196 countries, which basically is nearly all the countries of the world, with a global consensus that this is an urgent problem, a common concern of humankind, as the preamble states, was a major achievement. And also, of course, the agreement of the basic objective that global average temperatures must be limited to well below 2% above pre-industrial levels, with the addition that we must pursue efforts to limit temperature increase to 1.5 degrees, and the inclusion of 1.5 degrees was a major triumph for the small island states, for whom even an increase of 2 degrees could have catastrophic effects. And then one has the key individual obligation in Article 4, which requires each party to prepare, communicate, and maintain successive nationally determined contributions, and to pursue domestic mitigation measures with the aim of achieving the objectives of such contributions. Now, the agreement uses the word shall. I'm not sure how that's being translated, but it is a word of a mandatory word. There's no doubt about the unequivocal legal duty in that word. And it's a continuing duty. Shall communicate a nationally determined contribution every 5 years. And further, there's to be no backsliding, whereas each successive NDC will represent a progression beyond the previous NDC and reflect that country's highest possible ambition. And as you probably know, the word shall became a very sensitive issue because the United States were happy to accept shall a duty in relation to the obligation to submit their national determined contributions. They weren't willing to accept the word shall in terms of an imposed limit. And towards the very end, the text which came out from the French organisers included the word shall, where the Americans thought it ought to use, say, should, again, very subtle. But it almost derailed the conference, and it was only some very diplomatic footwork by the French which led to them declaring that actually there had been a typographical error, and they always meant to include should rather than shall, and that enabled the agreement to go ahead. Now, I think that incident, which has been vividly spoken about who people were there and read, was a very frightening moment. Not only says a lot of the French diplomatic skills, but also, particularly, it does show how people were really serious about that the word shall imply an obligation. Now, there's another very important element is the provision for financial support for the developing countries, and one has there the commitment of the developed countries, which aren't defined in terms of to support the developing countries, and the establishment of an obligation to move from a figure of 100 billion as a sort of starting point for progressive development after 2025. The other very important element of the agreement is the provisions governing transparency. When communicating the NDCs, all the parties must provide information necessary for understanding them and justifying. And the agreement includes what's called an enhanced transparency framework, which requires each party regularly to provide national inventory reports of their emissions by sources and removals using agreed methodologies and information necessary to track progress. And that transparency framework is designed to feed into what's called a global stock take, to be undertaken every 5 years by the Conference of the Parties. So this is a vital part of the machinery for ensuring not only that the individual parties live up to their commitments and responsibilities, but to ensure that collectively their efforts will be seen as sufficient to meet the overall objectives. The first stock take is to be in 2023, and so up until then there will be a gradual progression of review of the NDCs and making sure that collectively they are working towards the right end. Finally, as far as enforcement is concerned, as with the Montreal Convention on the ozone layer, the emphasis is on transparency and voluntary compliance. Article 15 provides for an expert committee to be established to facilitate implementation, but that is to function in a manner that is described as transparent, non-adversarial and non-punitive. Thus, the strength of the agreement is seen to lie not in legal enforcement mechanisms, but in the combination of clear commitments voluntarily undertaken at national level and the detailed arrangements for transparency and accountability at international level. And in a recent commentary, Jacob Worksman, who was a principal advisor to the European Commission and was closely involved in the negotiations, said this. He said, while there are no consequences for non-compliance identified in the Paris Agreement, together these elements add up to one of the most robust, comprehensive transparency and accountability frameworks of any international environmental agreement. He concludes his review of the agreement by posing a question. He asks, is the agreement a groundbreaking and bold experiment, pragmatic and functional hybrid, a model for other areas of multinational negotiations, or is it an expedient fund? And he provides a positive answer. He says, perhaps the Paris Agreement is both, but with the Paris meeting only weeks behind us, I am hopeful that we landed upon a unique compromise in which international obligations prepare, communicate, pursue, account for, track, and successfully and progressively update targets will, in the bright light of regular international attention and the heat of a warming planet, sink deep roots into domestic legal and political systems. And I think that's terribly well put. It's this global coming together with a commitment nationally arrived at, but then fed into a system of transparency and global stock takes, will sink, as he says, deep roots into the domestic legal and political systems. But only time will tell whether he's right. So, to end this review, it's been, I'm afraid, looking at quite a lot of different things. I want to mention a book which some of you may have read, but called A New Green History of the World, the Environment Collapse of Great Civilization, written by a British author called Clive Pompton. It's a frightening book because he describes how many of the great civilizations over the last 5,000 years of our planet have been destroyed by over-exploitation of their environment. And he argues that we risk suffering the same fate. He starts from the Sumerians, 3,000 years before the Christian era, to the Mayans in South America, in the early centuries of our own era, and more recently the ill-fated inhabitants of Easter Island. And he sees lessons for us today. He says, like Easter Island, the Earth has only limited resources to support society. Like the islanders, the human population of the Earth has no practical means of escape. Now, in the same period of 5,000 years, humanity has been astonishingly successful. World population has grown from a mere 15 million in 3000 BC to over 7 billion today, the vast majority in the last 2 centuries. But over the same period, we have built up for ourselves and our fellow creatures environmental problems of an unprecedented scale and complexity. One cause for hope is that, unlike those other civilizations, we have the understanding or means of understanding what is happening and what we can do about it. On the science, there's a remarkable degree of consensus. The problem, of course, is to translate that understanding into political action and effective legal controls. Establishing the environmental law is the great challenge for us all. So thank you very much.
Tenemos la posibilidad de hacerle preguntas a los Carnwath. No sé si quieren comenzar. ¿Alguien quiere hacerle alguna pregunta?
Sí. Bueno, soy Jorge Franza, profesor titular de consulto de la materia, y bueno, quiero felicitarlo por la remembranza que ha hecho de toda la evolución del derecho ambiental desde Estocolmo. Casualmente nosotros empezamos a ver el tema a partir de 1973 en un simposio que organizó nuestro maestro Guillermo Cano sobre la incorporación de la dimensión ambiental al derecho de los recursos naturales. Quería preguntarle dos aspectos. Uno, que en Río más 20 se habló mucho, ¿no?, del principio de no regresión. ¿Cómo lo interpreta la Corte del Reino Unido? Y la otra, ¿qué importancia tuvo los fallos del Tribunal Europeo de Estrasburgo, López Ostra contra España y caso Guerra contra Italia, donde se condenó a los estados por haber violado el derecho al ambiente? Esto repercutió también en la jurisprudencia del tribunal que usted desempeña, ¿no?
Well, thank you for your kind words. The non-regression principle is something I heard about first when I came to gatherings in this continent in Rio in 2012, because it's something which we don't really sort of think about as a concept in the common law, but I think it's very much embodied actually in the Paris Agreement, the idea of continuous improvement. So it's not something which you've actually thought of as a concept in the common law. Although I think we would like to think that we actually give effect to that. We have progressively improved the system. I was quite interested when I started studying this subject, was that I found a lot of the principles which are embodied in the sort of case law generally have started in the English common law in the 19th century, when we were struggling for the first time with the effects of the Industrial Revolution and some of these principles. So I hope we progress with that, but actually as a concept we haven't really used that. I mean, I'd be interested to hear how you think it really feeds into the law. As far as the human rights cases are concerned, yes, I think they have been very important. The two you mentioned were very much the first attempts of the Strasbourg Court to get involved in environmental law. We had a big case in England involving Heathrow Airport, a place called Hatton, in the UK, where the Strasbourg Court, at first instance, held that the residents around Heathrow could use the Article 8 of the Convention to restrict night flights over Heathrow. But when that went to the full court, I think it was decided that that was a step too far. So it's a very important backstop, I think. But on the whole, in Europe now, certainly in the European Union, it's much more important the regulations from under the European Treaty than I think the human rights.
Gracias a todos ustedes, creo que la exposición de Lord Carnwath fue tan completa, tan clara, que no requirió de muchas más preguntas, y yo quiero agradecerle especialmente en nombre de la Facultad de Derecho, de nuestra decana, la doctora Mónica Pinto, y del mío personalmente, no solo como secretaria académica de esta facultad, sino como ambientalista y como estudiosa del derecho ambiental. Le agradezco toda esta exposición con tanta claridad que nos ha enseñado algo que es fundamental en nuestra facultad. ¿Qué queremos nosotros, los profesores de nuestra facultad? Que quienes lleguen a nuestras aulas se formen, se eduquen y que aprendan con entusiasmo, que crezcan en el aprendizaje del día a día y en un tema tan importante como es el derecho ambiental, que nos involucra absolutamente a todos. Este tipo de encuentros, y agradezco al doctor Lorenzetti haber elegido nuestra facultad y este salón, que representa mucho para muchos de nosotros, para que Lord Carnwath viniera a darnos estas palabras, porque creo que con esto estamos contribuyendo a esto tan importante que es la educación, la formación, fundamentalmente para la participación en esto que nos incumbe a todos. Gracias nuevamente a todos ustedes por la participación, por la asistencia, y bueno, lo que yo vaticinaba que va a ser una provechosa charla, ahora definitivamente así lo aseguro. Muchas gracias.